On to our next case. This one is horrific and it has me furious. I am so mad about this. I can barely contain myself. To me, this is a case of further proof that sexual assaults against children are not taken seriously enough. Proof positive. Two Amish brothers in Seymour, Missouri, were arrested in June, and they were accused of repeatedly raping their 12-year-old sister. That is when the rapes began. They were charged with 6 counts of rape, 1 count of incest, but the charges were negotiated down to molestation. That is a crime in itself. How in the world is this molestation? This is rape without question.
Agree 100%, Anna. It's horrible. This prosecutor should be held to answer on this. We'll see how that's going to go. But again, we do a lot of work with victims of sexual assault, lots of children that are victims. This is just a horrible, horrible misuse of the justice system. It's not the intent of the justice system. There's something behind this. There's a driving force behind this. I don't understand this, but we see this all the time. And the only person I care about when I read the story is the 13-year-old victim. It's the only person that matters to me through this whole debacle. The prosecutor, to make a decision like that, Anna, to minimize something with a probation, I think it was a 5-year probation, I have no idea why the prosecutor decided to label this just a molestation. A molestation could be something as simple as rubbing a child on their back if there's some type of sexual gratification in it. This was full-on intercourse and beyond, which is a straight-up rape. And for these two brothers to participate in something like that with their own sister, it's also very likely, Anna, as you know better than anybody else, that there's a good chance there could be other victims out there within the Amish community itself or even outside of it. But what it really does is send a message to victims and people who are on the fence about coming forward as a victim or as a witness or somebody with information. Why would I come forward? Nothing's going to happen. And I can't come forward for whatever reason. You're not motivating, giving victims encouragement to come forward because the right thing happens. You're putting up walls, and we see that all the time. I really hope this prosecutor is held to answer to some degree by city council, the board of supervisors on the county, somebody that this should also shock. And I did some research. I haven't seen anybody except for an organization spearheaded by 2 young ladies that were upset with this. I haven't seen any of the city leaders or the county leaders step up and say, this shocks us also. This should not have happened. And what that does, in turn, it sends a message to me and probably most people that they condone it.
I cannot believe this. I do believe that there is a growing, if you will, an uproar in the country about this case, way beyond Seymour, Missouri, because it seems people outside of Seymour and a lot of good people in Seymour, right, know that this is wrong. This is absolutely, absolutely wrong. Let's get into some of the details of what we know and the prosecution's explanation for this plea deal. So the brothers are 22-year-old Aaron Schwartz and 18-year-old Petty. So authorities first became aware of the sexual assault of the sister when the 12-year-old girl became pregnant. She became pregnant by one of her brothers. By the time the girl gave birth, she was 13, and a doctor who treated this child mother is the one who called the authorities about the rape. He used a hotline to report this. That's how it was revealed. Not by anybody else in the community who would have seen this girl at 12 years old pregnant, but it was a doctor who called the authorities. So the
the doctor reported via hotline? I missed that part.
Yes, hotline.
Doctors nationally are mandated reporters, and they should be calling law enforcement directly the minute they have any information of child abuse, especially sexual assault. So I want to know why that doctor chose to call a hotline. Did they remain anonymous? Do we know that?
I don't know the
Right.
answer to that.
And that would be interesting if they used a hotline to remain anonymous, because the culture, is this a doctor that is absorbed in the culture or some type of group that where they have a history of this? That doctor failed to call law enforcement directly. Call the hotline, that may meet the threshold, but it's odd to me that the doctor chose a hotline.
You don't like that?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm just grateful he called the authorities. I agree with you, should have been 911 right away, but I am so grateful that at least this doctor did call the authorities as required by law, required by law. And what we don't know is he an Amish doctor, right?
No.
We have no idea. We don't have more information on the doctor. So after this, both of the brothers are arrested. And here's the amazing thing. According to the authorities, they allegedly admitted to having, well, they say raping their sister 6 times over the past year. But there's more, because if that's not disgusting, it gets worse. They weren't alone. They had 2 younger brothers, minors under the age of 18, who allegedly joined in the raping of this 12-year-old girl, their sister. Where were their parents? Okay, and to give you more insight, because I'm sorry, these are sick minds. There's no mincing words here. When these 2 suspects, the brothers, were questioned by police, Aaron, this is what he was asked. Would you ever do it again? Which is an interesting question to ask. This was his answer. Not to a little one like that. What the hell does that mean? But maybe if she were 14?
Right.
Oh, please. Oh my God. I cannot believe that these 2 walked. All right. So the 13-year-old girl gave birth in September. The child is a product of these rapes. It is also a product of incest. One of her brothers is the father of this child. So the county prosecutor originally agreed to release the 2 brothers on a $100,000 bond, as long as they promised to stay away from their sister and other little girls. Give me a break.
Oh, they promised.
They promised.
I didn't realize that. They promised. Okay.
How did these 2 ever get released? Because when they got released, where did they go?
Because the justice system failed them. They went home.
Oh my God. I'm so upset about this case. I can't tell you.
Back into the den of the sexual predators that caused this whole nightmare for them.
Den of evil.
Absolutely.
So the 2 plead not guilty at their arraignment in July. Okay, that's their legal right to do that. So here's what happens. The case is supposedly going to go to trial, right? And there will be a trial and there will be a jury and someone will decide what happened here. Well, before it goes to trial, the brothers reach a plea agreement with the county prosecutor. And the judge agrees to these terms. And this is what I want to know is, what is wrong with these people that anyone would agree to the following terms? I'm holding them all accountable for this. It's almost as if they're, it's like another crime being imposed on a child that has already been victimized, okay? This is just, it's criminal in another way. So in exchange for pleading guilty to 2 counts of molestation, right? They were each given suspended prison sentences totaling 15 years, meaning no prison time, 0, okay? They walk. So instead of going to prison, the 2 brothers will then spend the next 5 years on probation, 5 years of the 15. Oh, and look at this. They have to complete the Missouri Sex Offender Treatment Program because we know how effective those programs are. And they're going to have to perform 100 hours of community service. Oh, yeah, that's going to teach them a lesson. But wait. They were ordered to write a letter of apology to their community because no one's thinking about this 13-year-old girl. She's the victim here, but somehow this has offended the community. I'm just so disgusted. Oh my God, I want to flip a table.
So I'm a big Ana Garcia fan. You're a huge voice and fighter and warrior for these victims. We see this all the time, Ana. You and I have discussed cases like this ad nauseum. It happens all the time, and they will continue to happen until you see a prosecutor and a judge to some degree held accountable for making these ridiculous, scary, terrifying decisions. Can you imagine if she was re-victimized again?
Well, wait a minute.
Very possible.
Wait a minute, Louis. So here's the further uproar, okay? So, all right, there's community pressure to say, what the heck have you done here? You can't let these guys walk. So now the prosecutor is saying, oh, we want to revoke this plea deal. He's claiming, which is just as horrible, don't get me wrong, which is just as horrible, that apparently that part of the condition of probation was that they were to stay away from this little girl, right? This 13-year-old girl and other young girls. But most importantly, the victim here, oh, guess what? They went home and they apparently violated that. They've been around her. So now they're trying to revoke the probation because they apparently violated the probation. Oh, give me a break. And so now the prosecutor, like a light has shined upon his head, his brain, and he now sees this clearly. Oh, I think this prosecutor needs to go. I think this judge needs to go. I am just sick of, I'm just so sick of this.
Yeah, maybe they can both write a letter of apology, the judge and the prosecutor.
To the community.
To the community, absolutely.
Yeah, because
as a starting point. Look, that's not a prosecutor. He's doing the work of a defense attorney. That's crazy. You're a prosecutor, and by definition, you're going in the wrong direction.
Louis, I want to talk about, you're an ambassador for PAVE.
Yes,
Can you tell everyone what that is and the kind of work you do for them and why this is so personal for you?
Yeah, it's very personal. About 10 years ago, I became an ambassador for PAVE, which is an acronym for Promoting Awareness, Victim Empowerment. It's a wonderful national organization run by an incredible lady by the name of Angela Rose, who years ago was I think she was 17 at the time, was a victim of a horrible assault and kidnapping. And she flipped that around and started this incredible organization where just about every college you can name has a program, some type of chapter in it that points victims of sexual assault in this direction. And in that, we also deal with a lot of children that have been victimized. But when they come to me, usually what we get involved in are cases that aren't moving forward and aren't being prosecuted and not being moved in the direction that you would think would, much like this one, in the direction that they should be going. There are flags and the things that normally happen are not happening. So we focus on cases like that, our firm, to get these cases put on the right track and calling out prosecutors, anybody in law enforcement, put up some type of barrier for an outside reason that has nothing to do with an honest, ethical, hard-hitting investigation to the truth, but something other motive. And it's crazy how many of these we find. So back to these two Amish brothers, to me that screams, here we go again, screaming for a grand jury investigation. The first thing you have to look at from the outside is what is the catalyst, what is the cause for these ridiculous decisions, not just by the prosecutor, but by the judge. Is there an underlying current here? Is there something in that community that's keeping the things that normally happen from happening? I'll take it a step further. You also have to look at other sexual assault cases in that same area and see what road they've normally taken. And if they went in the direction they should have gone. Something tells me this isn't the first time that decisions like this have been made in that judicial system. Scary.
It is scary because the prosecutor was quoted as saying, when asked like, well, why did you ever agree to this plea deal and to let the counts of rape be dropped down to 2 counts of molestation? And so the prosecutor said, well, quote, the brothers had already received very severe punishment within the local Amish community, and that the community is reluctant to accept non-Amish courts' authority.
Doesn't matter. They still are
Please.
subject to the same laws we all are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And I've heard that defense before.
You can believe in your God, but I'm sorry, but there's no God that thinks this is okay. So I'm thinking that there's just a understanding in the area that whatever happens within the Amish take care of it themselves. And so the situation's been taken care of. Who in their right mind thinks that it's okay for brothers to rape a 12-year-old girl and then she gets pregnant with, I mean, this is incest. It's rape. These things are against the law.
Hate to ask this question. Do we know where that child is? The victim's child? Whose custody that child is in right now?
I believe that she is with the family because that is where the alleged probation violation took place with the two brothers. The fact that this child was not taken from these parents is also criminal to me. How is that okay? How is that okay? Why? Because their religious beliefs are different?
No.
I hope that this story, which is getting a lot of national attention,
Good.
I hope that this will light a fire under a lot of people to put a lot of pressure on this area and this district to say, this is not okay. We cannot permit this to happen. Oh,
Yeah.
I am just beside myself with this one. So this is what's going to happen now. That if there's going to be a new hearing now about the probation violation, I don't know if this means that the plea deal goes away. I don't know if that means, okay, then we're going to have a trial. Oh, wait a minute. And one more thing that the prosecutor said, I just remembered this. In addition to the Amish community taking care of their own and that they've been severely dealt with, the prosecutor said this was going to be a really hard one to prove. So he didn't want to take it to trial.
I don't know of what better proof you could have than an actual child being born out of the sexual assault, the rape. What other proof do you need?
And the brothers admitted it.
They need this guy needs a new job.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Absolutely.
They need a new prosecutor. They need someone who's going to work for the people of Seymour, Missouri. They deserve better. And that little girl deserves better.
Yes, ma'am.
And her
Absolutely.
baby deserves better.
Yeah.
All right. The next hearing on this one is scheduled for October 6th. And I'm not going to let go of this one.